If Killer Bee and the Jinchuriki, hey that rhymed, yo say ho, were reborn with all their memories and powers, they could also quite easily change their timelines, and the series as a whole enough to have it be renamed after each of them individually, or simply just as Jinchuriki, since the concept is liable to change quite a lot fundamentally, making a new story entirely. Take the idea of Reborn Bee by itself, as Bee and Gyuki are arguably the most successful and powerful Jinchuriki in history, based on their feats independently of characters like Naruto, since he is born fairly early in the timeline. Having already attained a perfect state of harmony with Gyuki in his past life, he could play a role in calming his rampages long before becoming its jailer, conducting a more safe and possibly survivable process to transfer the seal from Blue Bee to himself, so that the former Jinchuriki can also stay alive even longer, serving as a mentor and a fellow spokesperson for the Bijou and their holders, which I think Bee would push the Fourth Eight to make a more altruistic and open attitude toward, to the point of even going on diplomatic missions with him to seek even better treatment and regulations on the standards of practices towards the tailed beasts and those that must be bonded with to satisfy the fears and insecurities of humans and their desires for warfare. What's more, with his knowledge of pretty much the entire latter plot of the Shippuden era and the Akatsuki, he would be perfectly set up to create an international Jinchuriki alliance, after securing the hidden cloud and preventing many of his own personal tragedies, like the death of Matoi's parents. Inarguably, Yugito Ni as a fellow cloud ninja benefits the most of such a chance and a change to the canon, which in turn prompts her story to be one of the most intriguing ones here, since she will be pretty much instantly befriending Matabi and mastering and then elevating its immense power to then turn Hidan and Kaguya into her victims, allowing her to continue on with her own journeys, or to serve as the one who watches Bee's back for him, also hoping to train and save other Jinchuriki and making a big difference for them. Next, Roshi, Jinchuriki of the Four-Tailed Son Goku, is an intriguing figure whose rebirth would offer a unique perspective and powerful solutions to several timeline issues, especially since he'd be back with full control over the Four-Tails, lava-style mastery, and a traveler's wisdom, with intel on threats posed by figures like Kisame. I think flat out, Reborn Roshi wouldn't want to abandon the stone, and instead takes the path of becoming Tsuchikage, so he can better prepare for the threats out there, perhaps with a Super Saiyan 4 inspired Son Goku chakra mode. This said, a reborn version of Han, the Jinchuriki of the Five-Tails Kokuo, was also a fascinating character whose unique steam release and own philosophical approach will provide a very different strategic pivot point, as he too would be a vital source of intel, since it's implied the Paths of Pain or Konan may have been the ones to take him down originally. He is also implied to have a strained relationship with the Stone Village, so he would pair with the reborn Roshi as his shadow, much like Yugito to be in such a story. It would also provide a chance to expand on he and the Five-Tails' more interesting lore, perhaps by going with fan theories like Han possibly being related to Onoki and Karatsuchi, as a Branch Clan member who maybe drew the short end of the stick and was forced to take on the burden of trying to break Kokuo, where he would instead bond with the Dolphin Horse this time, setting it free and mastering its power fully. Ukitaka, on the other hand, would flat out just be an interesting enough Jinchuriki to explore on its own, since the anime staff at least came up with filler to expand on him, and his ties to the Mist Village during its bloody period simply offers an extremely strong story tie to most of the other Land of Water characters with lots of juicy lore like Yagura or Zabuza for example, and whom we both already have covered in this series. Aside from this, expanding more on how Psyche and the Six-Tailed Slug's powers work as well as Ukitaka's unique bubble-style water ninjutsu would be extremely fun, and he could just serve as a very cool intelligence operative style character for the Jinchuriki Alliance. Finally, we have Fu, who like Ukitaka, the anime at least took enough pity on her to expand with filler as well, even if that filler is a bit of a bummer. That said, rebirth with every power, ability, and memory she achieved the first go-round means that Reborn Fu can express her eagerness to make friends she will treasure forever by befriending Chome the Seven-Tails earlier, and instantly having full mastery over her unique flight, speed, and defensive abilities, in order to begin evolving them further extremely quickly, since she is arguably one of the Jinchuriki with the most untapped potential power-wise. Beyond this, she would serve as a much-needed bolstering to the power of the Hidden Waterfall Village, putting it more on the major stage as a nation to be considered likely even more than the Sound was. And able to, much like Yagura was, Fu would be wise, strong, and friendly enough to be accepted as the youngest Takigakake, or Waterfall Shadow in history, as well as becoming the Jinchuriki Alliance's scout and messenger, as it would simply allow her to travel and make friends very easily. This, however, only scratches the subject of these concepts, so you honestly should look out for, if not a full story of what if these characters reincarnate with all their memories and powers, a version you could at least see of some of these stories is what if they had survived, kind of like how What If Jiraiya adopted Naruto is a sleeper What If Fu survived.